Chapter 1. I'm Kyuubi. Dash dash dash. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. The soft sound of gurgling water echoed through the dark space. 1 tail, 2 tails, 3 tails, 4 tails. 9 tails. Kurama counted his tails out of boredom. He had transmigrated into the world of Naruto and seized control of the 9 tails. Now, both the consciousness and body of the 9 tails belonged entirely to him. Others who transmigrate into this world often end up as Uchiha with their Sharingan, Hyuga with their Byakugan, or, in some cases, descendants of the Senju clan. But he was different. He had become the nuclear weapon that everyone in this world feared, the tailed beast. And not just any tailed beast, the strongest of them all. Kurama hadn't been in this world for long, and as the 9 tails, he still didn't know who his Jinchuriki was. Was it Uzumaki Mito? Or Uzumaki Kushina? Or perhaps even Uzumaki Naruto? Kurama looked around and saw that he was surrounded by walls of metal and stone. The only door remained tightly shut, with a large sealing kanji, seal, engraved upon it. As the 9 tails, he understood this sealing technique very well. It was none other than the Uzumaki clan's powerful 8 trigram seal. The seal was made up of 2 4-symbol seals, and the Uzumaki clan's unique life force granted them the ability to suppress the tailed beasts. Now that he had become the 9 tails, Kurama couldn't help but feel like a pet locked in a cage. A song came to mind, a tragic lament for himself. Iron doors, iron windows, iron chains. With my hand on the iron bars. I look outside. Life beyond is so wonderful. When will I return to my freedom? Chains bind me tightly. When will I be free again? Kurama sighed, swiping his tail to stir up a massive wave in the flooded space. In the original timeline, the 9 tails had never stopped trying to break free from his seal. Since the moment he was sealed away, he had constantly sought ways to escape. If his struggles were written down, it could fill an entire book titled 9 Tails Prison Break. But in the end, all his attempts had failed. And finally, he had been talked into submission by none other than Naruto Uzumaki, the king of talk no jutsu, who had opened the cage that bound him. The ground beneath him was damp and covered in stagnant water. Kurama bared his fangs, releasing a low growl as he exhaled sharply. Just then, he heard hurried footsteps outside. Mito-sama, Uzushiogakure has fallen. The 3rd Hokage has brought a young girl from the ruins, she is from your clan and is highly suitable to become the next Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. Mito. Uzushiogakure. Uzumaki Mito, the first Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. Kurama finally understood where he was. He was inside the body of the first 9 tails Jinchuriki, the wife of the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, Uzumaki Mito. It had been Hashirama himself who had captured him, like an eagle snatching up its prey, all while delivering his signature Versailles-style speech. With a serious expression, Hashirama had declared, 9 tails, your power is too great. I cannot allow you to roam freely. Seriously, look at how this guy talks. Kurama occasionally overheard the voice of an elderly woman from outside. I truly appreciate the efforts of the 3rd Hokage. This way, the balance of tailed beasts among the villages will remain intact. Uzumaki Mito's voice was slow and calm as she lay on her bed. Once a Jinchuriki dies, the tailed beast inside them dissipates into chakra and takes time to reform. Naturally, Mito didn't want such an outcome. Finding a successor from the Uzumaki clan would be the best possible solution. Through Uzumaki Mito's senses, Kurama caught a glimpse of the outside world. It was a spacious and well-lit room, elegantly decorated yet simple. 2 maids attended to Mito, while 2 kneeling Anbu members delivered their report about the Jinchuriki selection. These Anbu were directly under the 3rd Hokage's command. From what Kurama knew of the original timeline, Uzumaki Mito was deeply respected by Konoha's villagers and shinobi alike. First, as the wife of Senju Hashirama, her status was unquestionable. Hashirama had ended the Warring States period and earned the title God of Shinobi. Second, as a powerful Uzumaki, Mito possessed immense chakra and the ability to suppress tailed beasts, further cementing her high regard in the village. Uzumaki Kushina, however, had a different fate. Unlike Mito, she was seen more as a vessel to seal the 9 tails. That being said, Kushina was still treated far better than her son, Naruto, in Konoha. Very few people knew about Kushina's identity as the next Jinchuriki. Even the Sannin had been unaware at the time. As a result, she was never shunned or treated like an outcast, unlike Naruto. But none of this was Kurama's concern right now. What mattered to him was how to escape from this seal. In the original timeline, the Nine Tails had no way of breaking through the Uzumaki clan's seal on his own. All he could do was wait, bide his time, and weaken the seal little by little as the years passed. But that didn't mean Kurama himself had no options. Another problem was that he had always remained in his Nine Tails form. If he wanted to take action, he had to find a way to return to his human form. In the now empty room, after the Anbu had left, only the two maids remained. Uzumaki Mito slowly sat up in her bed, folding her hands in her lap. You two, please step aside. I wish to speak with the Nine Tails. Yes, Mito-sama. Inside the sealed space, the sound of water splashing echoed softly. An old woman with warmth and wisdom etched into her features approached the massive gate sealing the Nine Tails. Nine Tails, it's been a long time. HMPH, what does a little girl like you want with me? Kurama sneered, lying lazily on the wet ground. His nine tails swayed behind him. The enormous shadows of his tails loomed across the space. To him, Uzumaki Mito was nothing more than a child. Though she was over 80 years old, compared to a being that had existed since the era of the Sage of Six Paths, she was still just a young girl. In a world where the average lifespan barely reached 30, Mito had already lived far longer than most. But she didn't seem to mind being called a little girl. Nine Tails, she said softly, her voice calm and gentle. I don't have much time left in this world. Before I go, I want to have a proper conversation with you. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. Like it. Add to library. Whoa. Duo Shiju Wei, Suzuju Shinai. Uzumaki Kushina 21 creators, thoughts. 13 comments 0 vote. Chapter 2, Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito knew her body well and was fully aware that she wouldn't live much longer. If the Nine Tails were to leave her body now, even with her Uzumaki lineage, she would not survive. As the Nine Tails, Kurama had the ability to use his chakra to sustain Uzumaki Mito's life for a little while longer. But it wasn't necessary. For Konoha, Uzumaki Mito had already given everything. And now, she wanted a descendant of her own clan to succeed her as the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Uzumaki Kushina didn't have a choice. Bitch, go to hell. I'm tired of being sealed inside your body. She had once been called a little girl, but now, she was an old woman. Uzumaki Mito was already used to the Nine Tails mood swings. Hey, this is strange. You seem different today. I can't sense any malice from you. Staring at Kurama's massive red body, Uzumaki Mito was confused. After all, the Nine Tails was a manifestation of pure hatred. Kurama knew from his own memories that Uzumaki Mito had once taken a portion of his chakra. Just as in the original events, Naruto had gained a part of the Nine Tails chakra and, with the help of his mother, Uzumaki Kushina, developed the ability to sense evil. Similarly, Kurama recalled that Uzumaki Mito had managed to do the same with the assistance of her husband, Senju Hashirama. A tag team of the ninja god and his wife, how could the Nine Tails possibly stand against that? What harm can a dying person do? Kurama glanced at Uzumaki Mito with his scarlet eyes and spoke indifferently. Uzumaki Mito had always wished to become the perfect Jinchuriki, fully mastering the power of the Nine Tails. But that required Kurama's recognition, something she had never been able to attain, even up until her final days. All the shinobi of my generation are gone. The only one I can relate to now is you, Nine Tails. Mito probably never expected that, in her old age, the only one she could talk freely with would be a fox. She continued to chatter while Kurama closed his eyes, listening quietly. Perhaps because she sensed the end of her life approaching, this was the most talkative Uzumaki Mito had ever been. I'm sorry, Nine Tails. I once said that hatred always follows power. Maybe that's why I could never become a perfect Jinchuriki. After speaking her heart out, Uzumaki Mito felt at peace. That's enough, old woman. I need to rest. Kurama's memories still carried the vivid images of his battles against Uzumaki Mito and Senju Hashirama. Hashirama, a descendant of the Sage of Six Paths and a distant relative of the Uzumaki clan, had a body that could rival the mightiest beings. Their clashes had been like scenes from a war film, grand and devastating. And now, Kurama could replay those memories for free, without any effort. Originally, as a fox, Kurama had no interest in such things. But even he couldn't ignore the fact that the frail old woman before him had once been a fierce and untamed warrior in her youth. Uzumaki Mito studied Kurama seriously. She felt that he truly seemed different today. If she were only a few decades younger, perhaps in this state, she could have finally gained Kurama's acknowledgement and become a perfect Jinchuriki. That was the only regret of Uzumaki Mito's life. Alright, Nine Tails, next time, I will bring the younger generation of the Uzumaki clan to meet you. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. The sound of dripping water echoed as Uzumaki Mito's figure faded from the sealed space. Suddenly, a mechanical voice rang in Kurama's mind. Ding. System activation complete. Host. Nine Tails Kurama. The host is given 3 options to leak chakra. Option 1. Leak chakra when the Jinchuriki defecates. Option 2. Leak chakra during childbirth, with a 98% chance of breaking the seal. Option 3. Leak chakra when the Jinchuriki urinates. A system, huh? In the original events, Kurama had relied on his Jinchuriki's emotional fluctuations to weaken the seal and escape. But now, with this system, he had 3 additional options. Childbirth. Ridiculous. At Mito's age, she had long since lost the ability to bear children. Even if she had eggs, there was no sperm. As for the supposed 98% success rate, it was meaningless when there was no chance of it happening. And as for the other 2 options, defecation was far too disgusting. With tears in his eyes, Kurama reluctantly chose urination. After finishing her conversation with Kurama, Uzumaki Mito lay down on her bed and took a nap. Meanwhile, deep within her body, Kurama knew his chance was coming. At that very moment, in the Hokage's office in Konoha, the top officials of the village had gathered. Mitokado Homura, Udatane Kaharu, Shimura Danzo, and the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, sat together. Hiruzen, seated in the center, took a deep drag from his pipe before speaking. The 3 of you, Mito-sama's successor has been found. This matter is an S-rank secret of the village. We 4 are the only ones who know. Homura, Kaharu, and Danzo exchanged glances, fully understanding the weight of Hiruzen's words. There were very few Uzumaki left in the world. During the First Great Ninja War, after Senju Hashirama's death, Uzushio village in the land of whirlpools had been destroyed. If Hashirama had still been alive, no one would have dared to start such a war. The marriage between Hashirama and the Uzumaki clan had strengthened the bonds between Konoha and Uzushio village. But after his death, the world's fear of the Uzumaki clan's power turned into action, and the once thriving Uzushio village was erased from history. The surviving members of the Uzumaki clan were scattered across the world. Finding a suitable successor for Uzumaki Mito had not been easy. Uzumaki Kushina was one of the few Uzumaki Konoha had managed to track down, an invaluable treasure the village had invested considerable resources in securing. For a Jinchuriki, the Uzumaki bloodline was the ideal choice. This matter was too important. Hiruzen hadn't even shared it with his most trusted disciples, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade. It had to remain a secret. As the sun set, Uzumaki Mito awoke from her slumber. And within her, Kurama knew the time was near. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. 7 comments 0 vote. Chapter 3, The Strong Konoha. As the evening settled, Kurama sensed his opportunity. Uzumaki Mito, the first Jinchuriki of the 9 Tails, walked toward the bathroom. Kurama knew this was the perfect moment to weaken the seal restraining him. When a Jinchuriki relieves themselves, their chakra naturally fluctuates, loosening the seal, if only slightly. Unlike what many believed, it wasn't necessary for a Jinchuriki to be enraged or desperate for power for the 9 Tails chakra to leak out. This was the brilliance of the 8-sign seal, a combination of 2 4-sign seals, designed by the Uzumaki clan. This seal not only restrained the 9 Tails but also channeled small amounts of its chakra into the Jinchuriki's body, allowing them to wield its power without fully unsealing it. A feat far superior to the primitive sealing methods used by the shinobi of Kumogakure. Mito took a deep breath as she squatted down. Kurama heard the quiet sound of running water. That was when he felt it. The seal wavered. A faint, red chakra seeped from Mito's body, spreading around her like mist. Mito stiffened, feeling the surge of power course through her. This is, the 9 Tails chakra. Why now? She murmured in confusion. This had never happened before. In the past, the 9 Tails chakra only leaked when she was in extreme emotional distress. But since her husband, Hashirama Senju, had died, Mito had remained calm, composed, and utterly in control. She had once lived freely, expressing her emotions without fear. With Hashirama by her side, she could laugh, cry, and get angry without restraint. She had never needed to suppress the nine tails, because if she lost control, Hashirama's wood style would immediately subdue it. But that was decades ago. Since his death, she had maintained a perfect grip over her emotions. Yet now, chakra was leaking on its own. Something was wrong. Mito frowned. The chakra was leaking, but she didn't feel any discomfort. Meanwhile, deep within the seal, Kurama could sense it clearly. His vision sharpened as he peered through the veil of time, seeing the scars left behind by Hashirama's power, the marks of a godly shinobi who had once defeated him in battle. Mito composed herself and returned to her room, her mind still lingering on the strange occurrence. I'll consult the nine tails when I have time, she murmured. For now, she had other things to prepare for. The transfer of the nine tails was imminent. The seal weakens. 3 days passed in a blur. In that time, Mito had relieved herself dozens of times, each instance allowing Kurama's chakra to escape. The first time had the most significant effect, weakening the seal by 10%. After that, the rate of decay slowed. 7%. 5%. 4.4%. By now, the seal had loosened by 30%. Kurama felt the difference. He had more space to move, more freedom. Mito, however, remained completely unaware. The next Jinchuriki. At the entrance of Konohagakure, a group of masked Anbu stood alongside the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. They had escorted a young girl to the village. She had long, striking red hair and wide, uncertain eyes. Uzumaki Kushina. At just 6 years old, she had been taken from the ruins of Uzushiogakure and sent to Konoha. She believed she had been brought here to start a new life, unaware of the true reason behind her relocation. She was to become the new Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Third Hokage-sama, this is Uzumaki Kushina, one of the Anbu reported. Hiruzen studied her carefully. Take her to Mito-sama. At this time, Konoha was at its peak. The village had never been stronger, not even during the first Hokage's reign. There was no Nine Tails attack, no great internal strife with the Uchiha clan. The legendary Konoha's White Fang, Tsukumo Hatake, was still alive. The Sannin, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru, were still in the village, thriving under their master's guidance. The great clans, Hyuga, Nara, Aburame, Inuzuka, stood united, contributing to Konoha's unprecedented prosperity. Yet, despite all this power, there was one lingering concern. The Nine Tails. As long as it remained an unstable force, the third Hokage's rule could never be truly secure. This is why Kushina had been brought here. If the transition of Jinchuriki succeeded, Konoha's strength would be further solidified. Hiruzen and his Anbu arrived at Mito's residence. Mito-sama, this is Uzumaki Kushina, Hiruzen said with deep respect. Kushina pick. Despite being the Hokage, he knew his place. Uzumaki Mito was one of the village's founders. Her seniority surpassed even his own. Mito gazed at the young girl. A feeling of warmth and familiarity welled up inside her. Kurama, observing from within, saw her as well. The little girl's long red hair reminded Mito of her past. Of her younger self. Third Hokage, please step aside. I wish to speak to her alone, Mito said gently. Hiruzen nodded and left, along with the Anbu. Now, only Mito and Kushina remained. Kushina stood there, confused and nervous. Mito-sama. She hesitated, her voice small. Mito gave her a kind smile. Don't be afraid, child. Come closer, she said softly. You can tell me anything. Something in her voice soothed Kushina's heart. The little girl hesitated for only a moment before running into Mito's arms. Mito embraced her warmly. Do not fear, Kushina. I, too, am from the Uzumaki clan, she whispered. I know what you must be feeling, confusion, anger, even fear at becoming a Jinchuriki. Kushina trembled slightly in her grasp. Jinchuriki, she whispered. She had heard the word before. But no one had explained what it truly meant. Mito gently stroked her hair. As Jinchuriki, we are not just containers for a tailed beast, she explained. The tailed beasts are not mere monsters. They are living beings, just as we are. And though we may carry them inside us, that does not mean we must live in fear. Kushina looked up at her, listening intently. The key to happiness, my dear, is to fill this container with love, Mito said. Kushina's small hands clenched her robe. She didn't fully understand yet. But for the first time since arriving in Konoha, she felt less alone. Deep within Mito's body, Kurama watched it all unfold. From the Nine Tails memories, he knew exactly who he despised the most. Uchiha Madara. That man had used the Sharingan to forcibly control him, treating him like a mindless tool. Compared to that, being sealed within a Jinchuriki wasn't so bad. At least here, he retained his consciousness, his will. Just as he had done in the past, Kurama would rather lend his power to a human than be enslaved by an Uchiha's eyes. Then, a voice rang in his mind. Ding. Due to current conditions, the host is presented with 3 choices. 1. Break through the seal during the Jinchuriki transfer and gain freedom. Reward. None. 2. Enter Uzumaki Kushina's body and become her tailed beast. Reward. 1. Human form. 2. Learning talent. 3. Remain sealed within Uzumaki Mito and perish alongside her. Note: the tailed beast can resurrect after death. Kurama's eyes gleamed. The time to decide had come. Let me know your thoughts in comments. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. 21 comments 0 vote. Pissed. Download the app for additional rewards. More events, more perks. Winning you more free perks. Download now. Uzumaki_Kushina_21. Download app now. Chapter 4, Tsunade. Breaking the seal during the handover of a Jinchuriki. That was indeed an option. If done, Kurama could manifest in the world freely as the Nine Tails. However, what benefit would that bring? Becoming the Nine Tails in his full form meant he would immediately be targeted by the ninja villages, all of whom would attempt to seal him away. He would be an existence that no village would allow to roam free. As for dying along with Uzumaki Mito, that was completely unnecessary. Even Mito and Hashirama, her husband, did not share such a fate. For Konoha's sake, Mito had ensured that the Nine Tails remained within the village's control rather than allowing it to vanish with her death. Kurama had no intention of being dragged into the grave alongside an old woman. He could resurrect himself as a tailed beast, but such a process would take far too long. A complete waste of time. So, the choice was obvious. I choose the second option, Kurama responded without hesitation. Returning to a human form was the best path. Not only would he regain his humanoid existence, but he was also intrigued by the abilities of the so-called learning talent. With this transformation, he wouldn't just be using a simple transformation jutsu. He would retain all the power of the Nine Tails within his new form. That alone made the decision easy. Ding. Host has successfully selected an option. The process to integrate with Uzumaki Kushina will now begin. Please wait for further updates. In a quiet room within Konoha, Uzumaki Kushina lay asleep. The journey had been long. Under Mito's guidance, she had been taught extensively about her future as a Jinchuriki. It had been a slow, patient process, but she had absorbed the lessons well. Now, exhaustion weighed on her, and she slept peacefully on Mito's bed. The official Jinchuriki handover was scheduled in just 5 days. When the transfer was completed, Mito's life would reach its end. The old Uzumaki matriarch knew this, and rather than dreading it, she sought to cherish her remaining days as best she could. Kurama, sealed within her, awaited his new host. He had spent decades within Mito's aging body. Her strength had waned, her vitality faded. There was no reason to remain attached to her. The days of being confined within a decaying vessel were coming to an end. Kushina, on the other hand, was different. Young, full of energy, her body would be a fitting new home. 3 days before the handover, a familiar voice echoed through Mito's chambers. A series of firm knocks rapped against the wooden door. Boom, boom, boom. Who is it? Mito called softly. Grandmother, it's me, Tsunade. I've brought Nawaki with me. Mito's expression softened as she heard her granddaughter's voice. Slowly, she made her way to the door and opened it. 2 young figures entered, a blonde girl and a boy with short brown hair. Tsunade pick. Inside Mito's body, Kurama observed them both. Tsunade at this age was nearly identical to how she would look in her later years, save for one key difference: youthful energy radiated from her. She was still cheerful, still active, still full of life. Before Mito could react, Tsunade lunged forward, wrapping her grandmother in a tight embrace. Grandma. Kurama, watching from within Mito, could feel the force of Tsunade's affection. It was an overwhelming, all-encompassing embrace, one that nearly knocked the elderly woman off balance. Had she always been this, overzealous? Did you miss me, Grandma? Tsunade grinned. Mito chuckled, resting a gentle hand on Tsunade's head. Of course, my dear. I always do. Beside them, Naoki smiled. Kurama observed their interactions quietly. The Senju clan was no longer the dominant force it once was. Hashirama's descendants had not inherited his wood release, nor his overwhelming power. Yet, despite that, Mito cherished them deeply. Grandma, don't say things like that, Tsunade pouted, crossing her arms. You'll live for 100 more years. Mito smiled at the girl's childish optimism. I wish that were true, Tsunade. But my time is drawing to a close. Don't say that. Naoki protested. You'll see me become Hokage one day. That's my dream. I want you to witness it. His voice was filled with conviction. His desire to become Hokage burned brightly, much like Naruto's would in the future. Kurama smirked internally. So this was the original. The prototype of the boy who would one day wield his power in an entirely different way. Mito smiled warmly. I'm proud of both of you. The two siblings exchanged glances, then turned to their grandmother. Mito clapped her hands together lightly. Come, I want to introduce you to someone. Curious, Tsunade and Naoki followed Mito deeper into the room. Inside, Kushina was sitting cross-legged on the floor, completely absorbed in her own world. She had let her guard down, her carefree nature on full display. As soon as she noticed Mito and the others entering, she straightened up immediately, regaining her composure. Mito chuckled. Kushina, I'd like you to meet my grandchildren. She gestured toward the two standing beside her. This is Tsunade, and this is Naoki. Kushina's eyes widened. Tsunade-sama. Naoki-sama. The two were members of the Senju clan, descendants of the first Hokage. Their status in Konoha was unquestionably high. Out of respect, Kushina immediately adopted a formal tone. Tsunade, however, waved it off. No need to be so stiff. Just call me Tsunade-ne. Yeah, and I'm just Naoki. No need to be so formal. Seeing how relaxed they were, Kushina hesitated for a moment before nodding. Kurama, watching from within Mito, found himself mildly amused. This family wasn't bad. They lacked arrogance despite their lineage. They treated Kushina well, as though she was truly one of their own. Soon enough, the atmosphere lightened, and Kushina began interacting more comfortably with them. Laughter filled the room as they talked, the warmth of family momentarily pushing aside any lingering thoughts of Mito's impending fate. Kurama recalled something from the future, Jiraiya once mentioning Kushina to Tsunade before heading to the Rain Village. Tsunade had commented that girls like Kushina, the wild and mischievous ones, always grew up to be stunning women. Dinner came and went, and finally, Tsunade and Naoki prepared to leave. Tsunade hesitated at the door, glancing back at her grandmother one last time. Then, without warning, she rushed forward and hugged Mito tightly. Mito smiled, running a hand through Tsunade's blonde hair. Take care of yourself, Tsunade. Tsunade lingered for a moment longer before finally pulling away. Then, with a nod, she and Naoki left, disappearing into the night. As the door closed behind them, Mito turned to Kushina. Kushina, she said, her voice suddenly serious. The red-haired girl straightened. I want to introduce you to someone else now, Mito continued. Come, I will take you to meet the Nine Tails. Kushina's eyes widened. Kurama, within Mito, smirked. This was going to be interesting. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. 5 comments 0 vote. Chapter 5, Fierce Kushina. Kurama in Uzumaki Mito's body listened to her conversation with Kushina. Since she wanted Kushina to inherit the role of Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Mito naturally wanted her successor to meet the beast firsthand so she could be mentally prepared. Tap. 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 In the dimly lit, sealed space, Kurama heard the sound of 2 steady footsteps approaching. Uzumaki Mito held Kushina's small hand, guiding her forward. At this moment, the young girl was hesitant, a flicker of unease showing in her eyes. She had never seen a tailed beast before, and after hearing Uzumaki Mito's descriptions, she understood how terrifying the Nine Tails was. The immense power of the tailed beast was undeniable. A large seal symbol was inscribed on the giant gate before them. Uzumaki Mito and Kushina had finally arrived in front of Kurama. Seeing the enormous beast's red-orange fur and oppressive presence, Kushina instinctively shrank back. Don't be afraid, Kushina. This is the Nine Tails. You'll need to learn how to get along with it from now on, Uzumaki Mito reassured her, gently stroking her red hair. Kushina swallowed her nerves and straightened her posture. Yes, Mito-sama. I will. Her initial retreat had been an instinctive reaction, but her fiery temper quickly resurfaced. With a small finger pointing at Kurama, she declared, "Hey, you stupid fox. From now on, you better behave while you're inside me. And remember, you have to pay rent." There was no trace of fear in Kushina's voice. Kurama, who had been lying lazily inside the seal, nearly let out a chuckle. This little girl had some nerve. It seemed Naruto truly inherited his mother's personality. She's indeed red-hot-blooded habanero. Uzumaki Mito couldn't help but observe Kushina more closely, admiration flickering in her gaze. At the same age, she herself wouldn't have dared to speak to the Nine Tails so boldly. A thought crossed her mind, perhaps Kushina could be the first true perfect Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Maybe, just maybe, this young girl could achieve what she never could and make up for her biggest regret. Kurama, still lounging inside the seal, closed his eyes indifferently. He wasn't particularly interested in their words. Strange, Mito-sama, why isn't this big fox saying anything? And why doesn't it seem as scary as you said? Kushina tilted her head, puzzled. Uzumaki Mito shared the same confusion. She had noticed something unusual about Kurama lately, there was no malice emanating from him. Normally, the Nine Tails would be glaring with hatred, clawing at the seal in defiance. But now, it lay there almost calmly. This change further solidified Mito's belief that Kushina had the potential to surpass her as a Jinchuriki. Even she, despite her strength, had only been able to tap into a small portion of Kurama's chakra. When she was younger, she had briefly entered the Nine Tails chakra mode, combining it with her powerful Uzumaki clan abilities. At the time, there had been only one person in Konoha capable of keeping her in check, her husband, Senju Hashirama. After all, he was the god of shinobi. If he decided to suppress her, there was nothing she could do about it. Nine Tails, you'll be moving to a new home soon, Mito said playfully. Don't you think it's time you got to know your new landlord? I won't be around much longer. She chuckled softly, following Kushina's earlier remark. HMPH. You two are so noisy, Kurama finally grumbled, his voice deep and reverberating. His blood-red eyes flickered open, revealing sharp vertical pupils. With a slight sway of his nine tails, a powerful force rippled through the space, sending waves crashing against the walls. The entire sealed chamber trembled. This was the power of a tailed beast. Kushina's heart pounded in her chest. She hadn't expected the big fox to cause such a commotion just from being annoyed. Despite the display, Uzumaki Mito remained unfazed, her smile unwavering. Nine Tails, don't be so grumpy. My Kushina here is very adorable. TCH. You ninjas are all the same. You only want to control the power of the tailed beasts. How many of you are truly sincere? Big Fox. Kushina stomped a foot forward, undeterred. I, Uzumaki Kushina, sincerely want to be your friend. You can even pay me rent if you want. Kurama let out a huff. You're lying. I never wanted to be sealed inside any of you. It's you shinobi who are shameless. When I make a promise, I keep it. Kushina clenched her small fists, determination burning in her eyes. Meanwhile, in a high-ranking conference room in Konoha. Konoha F4. The four major decision-makers of the village, 3rd Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, Shimura Danzo, Mitokado Homura, and Udatane Kaharu, were in the midst of a heated discussion. The topic at hand. The transition of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. With everything in place for Kushina to inherit the role, they were now debating what her life should look like moving forward. Hiruzen advocated for allowing Kushina to attend the ninja academy and graduate like a normal child before integrating into the shinobi system. Danzo, on the other hand, strongly opposed this. He insisted that Kushina be placed under strict Anbu surveillance, confined within Konoha, and prohibited from stepping outside the village or attending the academy until she gained control over the Nine Tails. Neither was willing to back down. Mitokado Homura attempted to find a middle ground. He proposed allowing Kushina to attend the academy while keeping her under constant Anbu surveillance. Udatane Kaharu, the only woman present, found all three approaches viable and refused to take a side. In the end, no consensus was reached, and the meeting adjourned with tensions still high. Regardless of their personal views, the final say on this matter rested with one person, Uzumaki Mito. As the wife of the first Hokage and the Nine Tails' first Jinchuriki, her opinion carried the most weight. The night before the official handover ceremony, Anbu operatives were stationed in secret, keeping a close watch on Uzumaki Mito's residence. The four key figures of Konoha, Hiruzen, Danzo, Homura, and Kaharu, personally arrived at her home. Each of them bowed in respect to the legendary Kunoichi. Though Danzo often clashed with Hiruzen, he held immense reverence for Hashirama, the founder of Konoha. And by extension, he deeply respected Uzumaki Mito. Hiruzen stepped forward and spoke first. Mito-sama, we would like to discuss the arrangements regarding Uzumaki Kushina's future as the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. I'll upload chapters shortly. Give me power stones. I want the power AAAAAAHHHHH. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. 12 comments 0 vote. Chapter 6, Nine Tails Transfer Ceremony _degree__. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, took the lead and said, Mito-sama, we would like to ask you about the follow-up arrangements regarding Uzumaki Kushina becoming the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Hiruzen explained his thoughts, as well as those of Danzo and the other village elders. The room fell into complete silence. Hiruzen, Danzo, Kaharu, and Homura all awaited Uzumaki Mito's response. Mito took her time, carefully considering the consequences of Kushina becoming the new Jinchuriki. After a long moment of contemplation, Uzumaki Mito finally spoke. Follow the third Hokage's wishes. Mito-sama, this, Danzo immediately stood up, ready to object. Danzo, I have my own judgment on this matter, Mito interjected firmly. The battle between Madara Uchiha and the first Hokage took place at the Valley of the End. None of Konoha's villagers had ever witnessed the Nine Tails in action, nor had they truly experienced its destructive power firsthand. Now, the only ones aware of Kushina's new role as the Nine Tails Jinchuriki were the highest-ranking officials in the village. If Kushina was kept under excessively strict supervision, it might not be necessary. Given this, there was no reason to conceal Kushina's identity as the Nine Tails' new host. As the previous Jinchuriki, Mito had never lost control of the beast, nor had she caused any harm to the village. Moreover, after observing the recent state of the Nine Tails, she felt even more confident in her young successor. Having shared her opinion, Mito noticed Danzo's reluctance to speak further, which she took as his silent agreement. If the Anbu were to monitor Kushina too closely, it might inadvertently attract unwanted attention from enemies. Besides, Uzumaki Mito was a highly respected figure in Konoha. Neither Hiruzen nor Danzo dared to refute her outright. Understood, Mito-sama, Hiruzen said. There are still many matters to attend to in the village. We will take our leave. Uzumaki Mito waved her hand dismissively. Hiruzen, Danzo, and the others bowed to her once again before departing. Tisk, these Konoha politicians, especially Danzo and the third Hokage, were all schemers, a voice echoed inside Mito's mind. Kurama, the Nine Tails, chuckled with amusement. Even without fully manifesting, he could sense Danzo's barely concealed malice. In front of Mito, Danzo hid his true intentions well. But it was impossible to deceive the Nine Tails, a being forged from pure hatred. Even if Mito detected Danzo's ill intent, she assumed it was solely directed at the Nine Tails. That evening, Kushina lay in Uzumaki Mito's arms. Over the past few days, Mito had been teaching her about Konoha's structure, history, and important figures. Meanwhile, Kushina had taken the opportunity to explore the village. When she learned that she would be able to attend the ninja academy like an ordinary child, her eyes sparkled with excitement. Here, she found her dream. I want to become the first female Hokage. Kushina declared with enthusiasm. Mito gave her an encouraging smile. That's a wonderful dream, Kushina, Mito said, raising a thumb in approval. I believe you will succeed. Thank you, Mito-sama. Compared to this passionate junior, Mito felt a sense of admiration. She had only ever been the wife of a Hokage, but Kushina aimed to become Hokage herself. After many preparations, the time for the Nine Tails Jinchuriki handover finally arrived. Kurama, who resided within Uzumaki Mito, observed the transfer ceremony's location with interest. Unlike Konoha's usual high-security chambers, the ceremony was being conducted in a hidden cave outside the village. The process of transferring a tailed beast, much like childbirth for a Jinchuriki, carried immense risks. To prevent the Nine Tails from escaping and wreaking havoc, the transfer was being conducted outside the village, shielded by multiple barrier layers. Sarutobi Bawako, the third Hokage's wife, was in charge of the ritual. Outside, elite Anbu operatives stood guard. Mito-sama, everything is ready, Bawako reported respectfully. I understand, Bawako, please step back. Inside the stone chamber, candlelight flickered, illuminating only Uzumaki Mito and Kushina. Mito looked at the younger girl with a calm expression. Kushina, don't be afraid. Kushina took a deep breath and nodded. I won't be afraid. She had already steeled herself for this moment. Kurama, deep inside Mito, found himself intrigued. Over the past few days, he had sensed his chakra gradually loosening within the seal. But now, the real event was beginning. Uzumaki Mito untied her sash, allowing her robe to slip off, revealing her frail, aged body. Kushina followed suit, though the contrast was stark. She was young, with a long future ahead of her. Kurama found the transfer process strange. Did a Jinchuriki transfer truly have to be conducted like this? But both Mito and Kushina had already agreed to the procedure. Kushina lay down on the stone bed, her body tense with anticipation. Uzumaki Mito formed a complex series of hand seals before pressing her palm against Kushina's abdomen. Instantly, a powerful surge of red chakra erupted from Mito's body, flooding the chamber with its oppressive energy. Kushina, Mito warned, her voice steady despite the strain, the more the Nine Tails resists, the more painful it will be. Endure it. Sweat beaded on Mito's forehead as she focused intently on the sealing process. The immense chakra began to flow into Kushina's body, forcing its way inside her. This method was the most stable and ensured a stronger seal. It was only possible when transferring the Nine Tails between female Jinchuriki. Kurama, still within Mito, felt an odd sensation. He found himself unable to resist the process, so he simply accepted it. The moment Kurama's chakra first entered Kushina's body, she let out a strangled cry. The agony was overwhelming. It hurts, she screamed, her voice raw. The sheer pain of the process was comparable to childbirth. Kushina, hold on. Mito urged. The Nine Tails' power is vast. This transfer will take time. Kushina's body trembled, her face drenched in sweat. Tears pricked at her eyes, but she clenched her jaw, refusing to cry out again. She bit her lip so hard that it almost bled. I won't lose, to that stupid fox, she muttered through gritted teeth. The pain was unbearable, but it was temporary. The most agonizing moment had passed, the initial surge of the Nine Tails chakra into her body. Gradually, Kushina's body adjusted. She began to feel warmth rather than pain. And then, something changed. Strength. Power. A surge of something incredible. At that moment, she knew. She had truly inherited the Nine Tails. She had become a Jinchuriki. And she would use this power to forge her own destiny. Next chapters will be uploaded shortly. Please comment your thoughts. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. 10 comments 0 vote. Chapter 7. Damn, who's this handsome guy? The day Uzumaki Kushina became the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. When the Nine Tails chakra first entered Uzumaki Kushina's body, the pain was unbearable. But then, she felt something unexpected, her body suddenly felt much lighter. She could clearly sense the Nine Tails chakra flowing into her without much resistance. Logically speaking, a tailed beast should resist with all its might when being sealed inside a Jinchuriki, especially the Nine Tails, who despised humans. Yet, Kushina felt that the beast entered her body smoothly, as if it had no intention of struggling. At that moment, the sweat that had formed on Kushina's body was instantly evaporated by the overwhelming heat of the Nine Tails chakra. Mito-sama, this big fox seems very obedient. It didn't even struggle. Kushina exclaimed in surprise. As the sealer, Uzumaki Mito was equally stunned. She knew firsthand how violent the Nine Tails could be. When she had sealed the beast within herself, it had fought back with all its strength. If not for her husband, Senju Hashirama, subduing it with his wood release, sealing the Nine Tails would have been nearly impossible. But now, this time was completely different. The Nine Tails didn't fight. It didn't resist. It simply let the sealing process take its course. How strange. Why was the Nine Tails so quiet? Had it suddenly achieved enlightenment? Or, did it know that resisting was useless? Konoha had prepared thoroughly for this, ensuring there was no room for the Nine Tails to break free. If the beast struggled, it would only prolong the process and cause unnecessary pain. Uzumaki Mito could only explain it this way. Still, it was a fortunate turn of events. The less resistance from the Nine Tails, the less suffering Kushina had to endure. Time passed slowly. The ceremony, which had started at noon, extended until evening. Due to Uzumaki Mito's age and the immense power of the Nine Tails, the sealing process took a long time. It was not something that could be rushed. Finally, the last traces of the Nine Tails chakra entered Kushina's body, and the sealing was complete. A complex 8-sign seal appeared on her abdomen, with black Magatama markings surrounding it. At the same time, Uzumaki Mito, now without the tailed beast's power, collapsed onto the ground, panting heavily. Kushina, however, felt a surge of immense and limitless energy coursing through her body. She felt stronger than ever. Getting up from the stone bed, she quickly dressed herself before helping Mito to sit upright. Mito-sama, are you alright? Kushina asked, her voice filled with concern. Mito exhaled slowly. Even breathing felt difficult now. Kushina, you are now the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, she said, her voice weak but firm. Remember, this is a secret. Do not tell anyone. Kushina nodded immediately. Yes, Mito-sama. I understand. Mito sighed. She knew that after losing the Nine Tails, she didn't have much time left. Even though she was of the Uzumaki clan, known for their extraordinary longevity, her body was rapidly declining. She would not see another sunrise. With great effort, she sat down on a stone chair, with Kushina at her side. Kushina, from now on, Konoha will be your second home. You can live like a normal girl, go to the academy, and one day, become a great ninja. I will not live to see the day you achieve your dreams, but I believe in you. I know you will become Hokage. Kushina's heart clenched. Even at the end of her life, Mito was still thinking about the village. The truth was, the destruction of Uzushiogakure, the home of the Uzumaki clan, was not entirely unrelated to Konoha. Even someone as powerful as Uzumaki Mito had to bow to the village's decisions. Hearing Mito's final words of guidance, Kushina couldn't hold back her tears. Mito-sama, I will always remember your teachings. She sobbed. The two of them talked for a while longer, treasuring their final moments together. Then, Bawako Sarutobi, the wife of the third Hokage, entered the chamber. She had come to fulfill Mito's last wishes. Bawako, the Nine Tails transfer is complete, Mito said weakly. You and Hiruzen must take good care of Kushina. Mito-sama, the third Hokage and I will do our best for the village, Bawako assured her. Mito turned to look at Kushina one last time, her vision blurring. She murmured in her heart, I have no regrets in this life. With that final thought, Uzumaki Mito closed her eyes forever. Mito-sama. Mito-sama. Kushina and Bawako both cried out, but the legendary kunoichi was gone. Ding. Congratulations, host, for successfully entering Uzumaki Kushina's body. Acquired human form. Reward. Supreme learning talent. Suddenly, the massive form of the Nine Tails inside Kushina's subconscious began to shrink. A moment later, it had transformed into a human. Nine Tails, or rather, Kurama, looked down at his hands and feet, feeling as if he had been reborn. His hair was the same shade as his fur, fiery orange-red. Glancing at his reflection in the water of Kushina's mindscape, he saw a strikingly handsome face staring back at him. At this moment, a thought popped into his head. Damn, who is this beautiful guy? Kurama human form pic. MC. It was a surreal experience. Who would have thought that the most feared tailed beast in the world was actually this good-looking? Powerful and attractive, this was exactly the outcome he wanted. Of course, despite his transformation, the 8-sign seal that had been placed on him remained intact. But Kurama wasn't worried. He had plenty of ways to weaken it over time. There was no need to rush. More importantly, he had now entered a safe vessel. Had Mito died before transferring him, he would have disappeared along with her, forced to wait years before regenerating. That would have been an unnecessary setback. Compared to Mito's aging body, Kushina's was strong, youthful, and brimming with vitality. Kurama smirked to himself. He knew Kushina well. If he played his cards right, he wouldn't even need to break the seal himself. A few well-placed words, and Kushina would open the sealed gate on her own. He was looking forward to that day. I'll upload chapters shortly. Open mouth smile smiling face. Comment your thoughts. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel. I'm in Westview Town. 24 comments 0 vote. Chapter 8. Ninja Academy. Dash dash dash. After Uzumaki Mito's passing, Kushina felt a deep sorrow inside her heart. The majestic power of the Nine Tails had just been sealed within her, and she was still adjusting to its presence. Exhausted both mentally and physically, she quickly drifted off to sleep. When Kushina woke up the next morning, she found herself alone in the small, dimly lit room. This was the place the third Hokage had arranged for her, a secluded corner of Konoha, far from the bustling center. There were fewer villagers nearby, and transportation was inconvenient. It wasn't a matter of hospitality. The third Hokage had placed her here as a precaution. If the Nine Tails were to go berserk, the damage to the village would be minimized. Despite this, Kushina remained optimistic. Even though Mito, the woman who had taken care of her, was gone, she knew she had to move forward. She clenched her fists, determination flaring in her violet eyes. I'll become Konoha's first female Hokage, she declared. So that Mito-sama can see me from the afterlife, huh? With her goal set, she felt a surge of motivation. However, her body had other priorities at the moment, she needed to use the bathroom. After a while, deep within Kushina's subconscious, the presence sealed within her stirred. The Nine Tails, Kurama, sensed an opportunity and let a small amount of his chakra leak out, testing the integrity of the seal. Dark red chakra slowly seeped from Kushina's body, swirling ominously around her. Kushina, however, didn't panic. Mito had already warned her that this kind of thing might happen. Instead, she curiously observed the ominous energy. So this is the Nine Tails chakra, huh? She murmured, watching the tendrils of energy curl around her fingers. I wonder when I'll be able to control this power. Just as she was marveling at it, a notification-like voice echoed deep in her mind. Ding! The host has completed the first chakra leak while using the bathroom. The seal has been loosened by 40%. 40%. The entity within Kushina, hidden within the depths of her mind, was shocked. When the first chakra leak happened in Mito's body, the seal had only weakened by 10%. But in Kushina's case, it was 4 times as much. Hey, youth is really something else, huh? However, the moment of amusement was quickly overshadowed by a sudden, pungent smell. From his vantage point deep inside Kushina's subconscious, Kurama's counterpart, an entity separate from the Nine Tails but observing the situation, winced. If he wanted to, he could continue watching. But this wasn't exactly something he enjoyed witnessing. Unlike Mito, whose body had endured countless years of battle alongside the first Hokage, Kushina was still a young girl, fresh and full of life. Yet, at this moment, she was proving to be just as human as anyone else. Severing his connection to the outside world, the entity decided to spare himself the experience. A while later, Kushina emerged from the bathroom feeling refreshed. She was excited, tomorrow would be her first day at Konoha's Ninja Academy. Dash dash dash. 3 days later. Uzumaki Mito's funeral had been a simple ceremony, just as she had wished. The mourning period had passed, and now it was time for Kushina to begin her new journey. As a foreigner from Uzushio, she knew she had to make an impression. In the classroom, the instructor stood at the front, introducing her. We have a new student joining us today, he announced. Before he could finish, Kushina proudly stepped forward and declared, I'm Uzumaki Kushina. The class immediately erupted into whispers and murmurs. Whoa, look at her hair. Yeah. It's so red. What did she eat to make it that color? Tomatoes. Ha ha ha. Laughter filled the room as the students teased her. Kushina's excitement faded for a moment as she instinctively touched her bright crimson hair. Her fingers curled into fists, but she took a deep breath. I'll be the first female Hokage of this village. She announced boldly. Among the students, one person in particular observed her with quiet amusement. Deep within Kushina, the entity that had watched her from before chuckled. She's got guts. After her introduction, the instructor moved on, asking the other students to introduce themselves. Among them were some notable names. Akamaiki Choza, Nara Shikaku, and Yamanaka Inoichi, the next generation of the Ino Shika-cho trio. Hyuga Hazashi, father of Neji Hyuga, already bearing the caged bird seal. Hyuga Hiyashi, the heir of the Hyuga clan, though he was attending a different curriculum. Hyuga Hikari, a girl with striking resemblance to what Hinata would one day look like. Kurama soon learned that she was likely Hinata's mother. What's Hinata mom name? Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Mikoto, heirs of the Uchiha clan, the latter of whom would one day become Sasuke's mother. Inuzuka Sume, a fiery girl from the Inuzuka clan. Aburame Shibi, from the Aburame clan. Finally, a boy with spiky blonde hair and bright blue eyes introduced himself. My name is Namikaze Minato, he said with a warm smile. My dream is to become the Hokage of this village. Kushina scoffed internally. This guy. He looks too soft to be Hokage. She didn't think much of him, but he seemed to have caught the attention of many students. In the days that followed, Kushina quickly made a name for herself. Any boy who dared tease her about her hair or challenge her quickly found themselves on the receiving end of her fists. Soon, her classmates gave her a new nickname, Blood Red Pepper. The title spread across the academy like wildfire. However, her reputation wasn't just about her strength. She became well respected among the girls in her class, forming close bonds with Mikoto and Hikari. Anytime a female classmate was bullied, Kushina would step in to set things straight. To the girls, she was an elder sister figure. To the boys, she was a menace, someone who kept stealing the spotlight. She's so strong, but she's dumb. Some of the boys sneered. That was the one area where they could feel superior, academics. Kushina's worst subject was ninja theory. No matter how hard she tried, she always ranked last in written tests. This gave the boys she had beaten up something to gloat about. What's the use of being strong if you can't even pass? They mocked. She won't even graduate at this rate. But Kushina didn't let it bother her too much. After all, tomorrow was the practical exam, the transformation jutsu, body replacement jutsu, and clone jutsu. These three fundamental jutsu were the cornerstone of a shinobi's basic training. However, for Kushina, they were also her biggest weakness. And thus, her journey at the Ninja Academy began, one filled with challenges, rivalries, and the first steps toward becoming the red-hot habanero of Konoha. But before that, she had a big hurdle to overcome. Would she be able to pass tomorrow's exam? Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. 17 comments 0 vote. Chapter 9, Meeting. Kushina's hidden potential. These days, the Nine-Tails chakra leaking from Kurama through Kushina's body had gradually weakened the seal, loosening it by 60%. Just as it had happened with Uzumaki Mito, the initial release was the most significant, immediately weakening the seal by 40%. After that, the process slowed down, gradually depleting Kushina's resistance. So far, the seal had loosened by 60%. Inside her, Kurama was also experiencing an incredible growth in intelligence due to Kushina's abilities. His mind evolved rapidly, adapting to the billion-fold learning potential hidden within his chakra. The moment he returned to his human-like consciousness, he immediately performed the clone jutsu. A single puff of smoke quickly became a dense fog, filling the entire sealed space with identical clones of himself. Good grief, Kurama thought, amused. This isn't just a simple clone jutsu anymore. This has already reached the level of a forbidden jutsu, the multi-shadow clone jutsu. Ordinary clones were just illusions, but Kurama had transformed the technique into something far beyond what it was meant to be. As the Nine-Tails, the last thing he lacked was chakra. In the original timeline, Naruto had used the multi-shadow clone jutsu to create thousands of clones, despite only possessing half of Kurama's chakra, the yang half. But Kurama in his full form. That was a completely different level. The sheer power of the complete Nine-Tails was incomparable to its divided self. Ninja School's clone jutsu test. What am I going to do? Tomorrow is another basic ninjutsu test. Kushina groaned in frustration, staring at the test paper covered in red marks. She wasn't worried about failing the written exams, she had already accepted that part, but her struggles with basic ninjutsu were another issue entirely. Has my Hokage dream sunk before it even set sail? She sighed heavily. If she couldn't even pass the Academy's graduation exam, how could she ever become Hokage? Her ambitions seemed to be crumbling before they could even begin. Lost in thought, Kushina eventually drifted into sleep. The next morning at the Ninja Academy, the first test was the clone jutsu. The requirement was simple: create a single clone that could move normally. If this were the graduation exam, students would need to create at least 2 functioning clones. Today, however, one was enough. First up was the Ino Shika Cho trio. Yamaaka Inoichi, Nara Shikaku, and Akamichi Choza easily completed the task. Shikaku sighed, scratching his spiky hair lazily. This is such a drag. Next was Uchiha Fugaku, who effortlessly created 2 clones. After him, Uchiha Mikoto stepped forward, completing the test smoothly. She then turned to Kushina and smiled encouragingly. Kushina, you can do it. Don't let those boys look down on you. Kushina grinned, her usual confidence flaring up. Of course. I got this, Mikoto. Without warning, she pulled Mikoto into a tight hug. Up next was Namikaze Minato. As expected, he effortlessly created 3 perfectly identical clones. Kushina scoffed, crossing her arms as she glanced at Minato with mild annoyance. TCH. That girly-looking guy actually has some talent. Minato's flawless execution shocked even the teachers. His instructor, Moika-sensei, was in awe. This boy. Moika murmured. He might achieve greatness one day. Finally, it was Kushina's turn. She stepped forward confidently, ignoring the whispers around her. It's just clone jutsu. What's so scary about it? She formed the hand seal and focused her chakra. Poof! White smoke erupted around her. When it cleared, the result was a complete failure. Her clone lay on the ground, lifeless and twitching. It rolled its eyes blankly, unable to function. Moika-sensei sighed and rubbed her temples in frustration. The way she covered her face with her hands seemed to say, I don't know her. She's not my student. The class erupted into laughter. The tail of the class is still the tail of the class. Blood red pepper, huh? With that skill, can she even graduate? More laughter followed, echoing through the room. But suddenly, Kushina's blood red hair stood on end. Her sharp gaze swept across the room, and the boys immediately fell silent, avoiding eye contact. Even Moika-sensei felt an inexplicable shiver run down her spine. Since her clone jutsu failed, the instructors didn't even bother testing her transformation jutsu and substitution jutsu. Was she disappointed? Yes, but only for a moment. With her fiery spirit, she quickly shook it off and regained her usual energy. Dash dash dash. A voice in the darkness. Later that evening, back at home, Kushina lay on her futon, frowning. She replayed the test over and over in her mind, trying to understand what went wrong. She had enough chakra, there was no doubt about that. Then why couldn't she perform the clone jutsu? No matter how much she thought about it, she couldn't find an answer. At that moment, a deep, magnetic voice echoed in her mind. Hey, little girl, what are you stressing about? Kushina's eyes widened. That voice. It had been a long time since she last heard it. 9 tails. A moment later, she felt her consciousness being pulled away. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself inside a vast, eerie space. The sealed chamber. Her footsteps echoed as she hurried toward the giant cage. Beyond the massive iron bars, a colossal fox sat in the shadows. Its red-orange fur shimmered under the dim light, and its piercing blood-red eyes gleamed with an overwhelming presence. For the first time, Kushina stood face to face with Kurama inside her subconscious. In the original timeline, Jiraiya had forced Naruto into a near-death situation to unlock his connection with the 9 tails. But for Kushina, the circumstances were different. Because the seal had loosened by 60%, Kurama had dragged her here himself. Dash dash dash. A different kind of bond. Kushina stared up at the enormous beast. Hey, big fox, you called me, what do you want? She showed no fear. She had always known Kurama was inside her, but she had never directly communicated with him until now. Before her death, Uzumaki Mito had given her one final piece of advice. If you want to control the 9 tails, do not think of him as a beast. Treat him as an equal. Respect him as a friend. Kushina had taken those words to heart. Even though she had never seen Kurama before, she had always believed they could coexist. Now, standing before the mighty 9 tails for the first time, she smiled. Kurama stared at her for a long moment before chuckling. You're an interesting one, brat. Dash dash dash. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. 12 comments 0 vote. Chapter 10, Mind Eye of Kagura. Kushina's first meeting with Kurama. Hey, big fox, you called me. What's the matter? Kushina's voice was soft and childlike. It's nothing. You're the landlord, and I'm the tenant. Shouldn't the landlord and tenant at least meet? Kushina placed a small hand under her chin, rolling her big eyes in thought. After a moment, she nodded. That actually makes sense. Hey, Big Fox, I did terribly at Konoha's Ninja Academy today. If I can't even pass the basics, how can I ever become Hokage? Suddenly, an ethereal voice echoed in her mind. Given the host's current situation, you are now presented with two options. Interrupt Kushina's confession and drive her out of the sealed space. Reward. Seal loosens to 70%. Let her talk and offer some simple comfort. Reward. Uzumaki clan's ability, Kagura's Mind Eye. Additionally, gain Kushina's psychological dependence. Kurama, confined within the seal, considered his options. The seal loosening was inevitable, but Kagura's Mind Eye was a rare ability, even among Uzumaki clan members. If Kushina lowered her guard and trusted him more, she might even break the seal herself in the future. Choice 2, he decided. Ding. Choice selected. Reward obtained. Despite her tough exterior, Kushina was just a lonely child. She had come to Konoha alone, was forced to become a Jinchuriki, and had no family. Even her best friend, Uchiha Mikoto, was just a classmate at the academy. Once school ended, Kushina returned to an empty home, spending her time alone. Tonight, she finally found someone to confide in, the Big Fox, inside her. She let out all the frustrations bottled inside her. She told Kurama about her struggles at the academy, how her classmates teased her fiery red hair and called her a loser. After venting, she felt an odd sense of relief. It was like she had poured out all the negativity in her heart. Kurama, who had been silently listening, chuckled. I'm sorry, Big Fox, I used you like a trash can to dump all my problems, Kushina mumbled. Kurama's massive head tilted slightly. In a way, we're kindred spirits, she continued. You're feared by the world, and I'm not exactly popular at school either. Kurama smirked, flashing his sharp fangs. But personally, I think your hair looks good. Kushina blinked in surprise. Look at my fur, Kurama said, flicking his tail. It's the same shade as your hair. I'd say we match pretty well, don't you think? Kushina's cheeks turned slightly pink. For the first time, something, was complimenting her hair. And it came from a giant, terrifying fox. Kurama smirked at her reaction. By the way, he added, from my perspective, you're just a little kid. So, I'm going to call you, Little Nana. Kushina froze. She had never been called that before. Wait. Was she really going to accept a nickname from a giant fox? She mentally calmed herself. Remember, Mito-sama said to treat the tailed beast as a friend, not as a monster. What do you mean, Little Nana? I'm not a kid. She puffed her cheeks in frustration. I'm already big, okay. Kurama chuckled. I've lived for thousands of years. Even your predecessor, Uzumaki Mito, was just, Little Mito, to me. Kushina huffed, but deep down, she was secretly happy. Not to mention, his fur really did match her hair color. Kurama, having lived for centuries, saw everyone as a child in his eyes. She sighed. Fine, you can call me Little Nana. Kurama grinned. One step closer. As the conversation continued, Kushina slowly began to see Kurama differently. Despite being the feared Nine Tails, he wasn't as scary as she thought. In fact, he actually listened to her complaints. Kushina's mind suddenly jumped to an important question. Hey, Big Fox, can you let me use your power? Kurama smirked. Little Nana, can you break the seal on this cage? Kushina hesitated. She had always been warned that Jinchuriki and their tailed beasts were supposed to restrain each other. Unless they achieved true harmony, she must not break the seal. Though she's beginning to trust the Nine Tails, she wasn't foolish. Sorry, Big Fox. I can't break the seal just yet, she admitted. Kurama wasn't surprised. He didn't expect her to release him so quickly. Then why should I let you use my power? He countered. Kushina pouted. She couldn't argue with that logic. Then something clicked in her mind. Wait, does my inability to refine chakra have anything to do with you? She suddenly asked. Kurama's ear twitched. She figured it out. The Uzumaki sealing technique allowed Jinchuriki to passively absorb a small amount of their tailed beast's chakra. However, due to his massive reserves, Kurama's chakra constantly interfered with Kushina's own chakra control. This made it harder for her to refine chakra compared to normal ninja students. Ah, so it was you. Kushina groaned. Kurama merely flicked his tail. Who else? Kushina rolled her eyes. Great. The real saboteur has been inside my own body all along. After that, the two continued talking for a while. Despite everything, Kushina actually enjoyed the conversation. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. She had someone to talk to, even if that someone was a giant fox sealed inside her. Kurama, in turn, found her amusing. A feisty little girl, but one with spirit. Thanks, Big Fox, Kushina finally said, standing up. I feel a lot better after talking to you. See you next time. Kurama simply yawned. HMPH. Whatever you say, little Nana. Kushina opened her eyes, returning to her dimly lit bedroom. She stared at the ceiling, her heart feeling lighter than before. It was a strange experience, but she didn't hate it. She even felt bad for the big fox, trapped inside that cage. He may have been dangerous, but from what she saw today, he wasn't all that bad. Big Fox, she whispered, I'll help you gain your freedom someday. And with that, she drifted off to sleep. Ding. Congratulations. The host has acquired Kagura's mind eye. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. Like it. Add to library. Also should I change Little Nana to Little Kushina? Uzumaki Kushina 21 creators, thoughts. 12 comments 0 vote. Chapter 11, V's Minato. Little girls are so easy to fool. Kurama felt this way. Before the seal could be loosened to 100%, Kushina had already broken the seal for him. As for the Kagura Mind Eye, it was also a good ability. Kurama was the Nine Tails, and the Nine Tails was a manifestation of hatred. He could sense malice, and this Kagura Mind Eye could sense chakra within a radius of dozens of kilometers. The Uzumaki clan had this ability, and Nagato, being an Uzumaki, also had the ability to sense. Kurama believed that with Kushina's potential, she would awaken such an ability soon. Konoha Village, Ninja Academy Training Ground. If one wanted to become a ninja, combat training was essential. And now, a highly anticipated showdown was about to take place. Uzumaki Kushina vs. Namikaze Minato. Minato carried the hopes of many boys in the class. Except for Minato, the Ino Shika Cho trio, and the boys who had not crossed paths with Kushina, every other boy had been beaten by her. The reputation of the red-hot habanero made them tremble. Namikaze Minato was the undisputed genius of their generation, while Uzumaki Kushina was seen as just a brute with raw strength. Come on, Minato. Show that red pepper who's boss. Yeah, Minato, you're our only hope. That tomato has been too arrogant. Go, Minato. Teach that embarrassing tomato-haired girl a lesson. The boys cheered for Minato, while Kushina had the full support of the girls. Uchiha Mikoto, arms crossed over her chest, muttered softly, You got this, Kushina. Just then, a faint voice reached Minato's ears. Minato, make sure to put that red pepper in her place. The speaker was none other than Uchiha Fugaku. This surprised Minato. Fugaku, you don't usually get involved with the red-hot habanero. Why now? Kushina has bullied too many of the boys here. You need to put her in her place. Fugaku's eyes darted away slightly. This wasn't his true intention. He simply wanted to use Minato to suppress Kushina's dominance. His reason for targeting Kushina wasn't about standing up for his classmates, it was about Uchiha Mikoto. Fugaku was the son of the Uchiha clan leader and the future head of the Uchiha clan. And Fugaku liked Uchiha Mikoto. With his standing in the Uchiha clan, he believed Mikoto had no reason to reject him. Before Kushina had joined the academy, he and Mikoto had a decent relationship. They would talk, and things were progressing well. But ever since Kushina arrived and became Mikoto's best friend, the two girls had been inseparable. Fugaku no longer had a chance to approach Mikoto. In class, he could only glance at her secretly. Mikoto's attention was always on Kushina, and he, the young heir of the Uchiha clan, was almost invisible to her. Fugaku probably never expected that his love rival would turn out to be another girl. Inside Kushina, Kurama sensed Fugaku's malice toward her. At the same time, he noticed the way Fugaku looked at Kushina and then at Mikoto. Kurama immediately understood the little schemes running through Fugaku's mind. Instructor Moika stepped onto the training ground and explained the rules of engagement. Weapons such as kunai and shuriken were forbidden, but other techniques could be used freely. Minato and Kushina stepped forward, facing each other. Minato gave a gentle smile. Kushina-kun, I look forward to this match. Kushina scoffed, pointing at the group of boys behind Minato. So, you're the leader of that pack, huh? Then I'll beat you up so they understand the true terror of the red-hot habanero. The boys shrank back, avoiding her gaze. Since Namikaze Minato was their symbol of hope, their pillar of strength. Then Kushina would crush that hope and smash their pillar to pieces. If they wouldn't respect her, she would make them fear her. Besides, Kushina couldn't stand Minato's soft, polite demeanor. To her, he was too much of a goody-goody, a weakling. She swore she would punch all these cowardly boys until they were black and blue. Begin. At Instructor Moika's command, Kushina lunged forward, fist raised. Just because she lacked proficiency in ninja theory and ninjutsu didn't mean she wasn't skilled in taijutsu. Even Minato, a recognized genius, didn't dare to take her punch head-on. He could feel the raw power behind her attack. If he took a direct hit, his body would go numb. And in that brief moment of paralysis, Kushina would unleash a relentless flurry of attacks. If that happened, he would lose. As a genius, Minato couldn't accept defeat at the hands of a so-called failure. He thrived under the reputation of being a prodigy. He enjoyed the admiration of others, the way people looked up to him. He wanted to be Hokage, the leader of the village. If he couldn't take her on with brute force, then he would have to outmaneuver her. Minato utilized his agility and quick footwork, skillfully dodging Kushina's attacks. Boom. Kushina's punch slammed into the ground, leaving behind a deep crater. Everyone watching swallowed nervously. If that punch had hit them, they'd have been hospitalized. The red-hot habanero was terrifying. She was bad at ninjutsu, hopeless in written exams, but her sheer physical strength was monstrous. That was what scared her classmates the most. As the battle continued, Minato remained on the defensive, evading every strike. The spectators began to grow anxious. Hey, is Minato okay? He's been on the defensive this whole time. Yeah, Minato is our only hope. If he doesn't put the red-hot habanero in her place, we'll never live this down. This girl is a total menace. Shut up and watch. Fugaku snapped, frustration clear in his voice. The reason a genius is because they're meant to be above failures like her. He had complete faith in Minato. He was certain, Minato would win. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. 15 comments 0 vote. Chapter 12, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town. Dash 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 dash. Uchiha Fugaku believed that Minato would win. Because Minato was the man he recognized. Under the overwhelming aura of Minato's genius, Fugaku, hailed as the Uchiha clan's prodigy and its young leader, paled in comparison. But that didn't mean he would bow his head. Fugaku knew he possessed strengths that Minato lacked. Namikaze Minato had no bloodline limit, while Fugaku was a member of the Uchiha clan. He was certain that his eyes would awaken sooner or later. And when that day came, he believed he would surpass Namikaze Minato. Perhaps, even Mikoto would look at him differently then. On the training grounds, the spar between Minato and Kushina continued. Minato had been at a disadvantage so far, but Fugaku understood his rival well. He knew that once Minato fully grasped Kushina's fighting style, that would be the moment he turned the battle around. If Namikaze Minato was the number 1 student at the academy, then Fugaku was number 2. Seeing his composed expression despite Minato's previous struggles, a few students approached him cautiously. Fugaku, do you think Minato can actually defeat the red-hot-blooded habanero? They had placed all their hopes on Minato. If he couldn't win, then no one could. HMPH. Fugaku scoffed slightly, the corners of his mouth lifting. He spoke slowly but with certainty. A battle between shinobi isn't just about taijutsu. Just watch, it's time for Minato to fight back. On the training field, Kushina was starting to struggle. Her usual confidence was now tinged with frustration. Everyone saw Minato form a hand seal. Standing at the side, their instructor, Moeka, couldn't help but react with astonishment. As expected of a genius. He's already mastered that technique. Bang. 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 Several bursts of white smoke appeared, and in an instant, Minato created 4 identical copies of himself. It was the shadow clone technique. Fugaku's eyes narrowed slightly. Minato. You're always one step ahead of me. The watching students erupted into cheers. Yes. Minato, you've got this. Defeat that red-haired demon for us. Previously, when Minato was struggling, they had remained silent. But now that he was gaining the upper hand, their suppressed excitement burst forth. Including the original, 5 Minato stood side by side, all facing Kushina. Minato smiled confidently. Kushina-san, surrender. You can't win against me. TCH. Just because you made a few clones, you think you've won. Kushina clenched her fists. There was no way she would lose to this blonde pretty boy. She wasn't the type to back down. Minato's 5 clones rushed at her simultaneously. For the first time in the match, Kushina found herself overwhelmed. She didn't know which one to attack. Minato's speed was incredible. He was light on his feet, graceful, and incredibly agile. No matter how she swung, her fists never connected. Instead, it was Minato who kept forcing her back. Damn, this pretty boy is actually good. The students watching cheered with excitement. They had never seen Kushina struggle like this before, and to their surprise, they found it incredibly satisfying. She always bullied us, but now she's finally getting a taste of her own medicine. Minato, you really are a genius. Yes. Beat the red-hot-blooded habanero into submission. Fugaku smirked slightly as he watched. HMPH. That'll teach her not to mess with Mikoto. While some were cheering, others, like Uchiha Mikoto and Hyuga Hikari, were worried for Kushina. At that moment, Kushina saw the smug expressions on the faces of those watching. Dogs who only know how to bark when they think they're winning. Giving up was never an option for her. Kushina Uzumaki never admits defeat. Biting her lip, she thought for a moment. Shadow clone technique, huh? If Minato could do it, then so could she. Mimicking Minato's hand seal, she took a deep breath and shouted. Shadow clone technique. Boom. A puff of white smoke erupted. But when it cleared, there was only one Kushina, lying flat on the ground, her eyes rolling from dizziness. The students burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. Look at that. She actually thought she could do it. Yeah. The weakest student at ninjutsu trying to show off against Minato. She should know her place. As expected from the red-hot-blooded habanero. So much talk, but no talent. Minato couldn't help but suppress a smile at the sight. But inside Kushina, a deep voice rumbled. Oi, big fox, that was your fault. Kurama, the 9 tails sealed within her, gave an amused grunt. HMPH. Don't mess with me, stupid fox. This is important. For letting you live inside me, at least help me a little. Kushina, who always acted tough, was on the verge of tears. She couldn't afford to lose in front of everyone. Come on, Kyubi. You're my best friend. Kurama chuckled. Teasing her is kind of fun. Fine, kid. Use that jutsu again. Kushina's eyes brightened. Determined, she formed the hand seal once more. The students, still laughing, sneered. She's trying again. Does she not realize how ridiculous she looks? They mocked her without restraint. But this time, Kushina ignored their jeers. She focused completely. Shadow clone technique. Bang. 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 The ground erupted with a series of smoke clouds. And when they cleared, the entire training ground was filled with hundreds of Kushinas. A sea of red hair surrounded the students. The overwhelming presence of so many clones made the atmosphere heavy. The previously mocking voices fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. Even Fugaku's eyes widened slightly in shock. Kushina really did it. The once laughing students now stared in disbelief. This was no ordinary shadow clone technique. This was an overwhelming number of clones. And at the center of them all, the original Kushina grinned. Minato, you're not the only genius here. For the first time, Minato's smile faltered. This battle wasn't over yet. And with that, the real fight had just begun. Check out other novels. Haikyuu, The Unstoppable Force. Marvel, I'm in Westview Town.